My name is Claire. I'm 17, and in my family, I am the crack in the flawless family crystal. I am that annoying scratch on the lacquered surface that is easier to cover with a napkin than to try and polish away. In my family, everything must be perfect, from the symmetry of the lawn in front of the house to the snow-white smiles on the Christmas cards. My mother, Eleanor, is the queen of this porcelain kingdom. My father, Richard, is its eternally busy but distinguished king. And my brother, Ethan, a year older than me, is the crown prince, the golden boy whose radiance is meant to blind everyone around him. And I was just Claire, an accessory, a footnote in small print. It all began the day they left. The day the napkin covering the crack was finally pulled away for good. They were heading off on a 2-week Caribbean cruise on the Odyssey of the Seas. The pinnacle of prestige, the latest craze in my mother's circles. Their crocodile leather suitcases stood by the door like polished tombstones for my hopes. I knew I wasn't going, but I clung to the illusion until the very last moment. Ethan came down the stairs, whistling. He was wearing pristine white linen trousers and a blue shirt that perfectly accentuated his tanning bed glow. He shot me a mocking glance. "Ready for 2 weeks of paradise on earth, sis?" "Oh right, I forgot," he said, theatrically slapping his forehead. I said nothing, clenching my phone in my hand. My mother emerged from her bedroom, adjusting her silk blouse. She smelled of Chanel No. 5 and a cold, detached success. "Claire dear," she began in the voice she used with the household staff, "we've left you money for food on the kitchen counter. And a list of emergency numbers. Don't make a mess. And try not to draw attention to yourself. Why can't I go with you?" The question escaped my lips before I could stop it. It sounded pathetic, childish, exactly the way I didn't want it to. My mother sighed heavily, her perfect eyebrows knitting together. It was the sigh of a woman exhausted by an unsolvable problem. "Claire, we've been over this. This cruise is an important event. The Bakers will be there, the Williamses. Everyone. We need to present our family in the best possible light. And I'm not the best light," I whispered. At that moment my father came downstairs. He smelled of expensive cologne and the faint scent of whiskey he drank for courage before another high society event. He placed a hand on my mother's shoulder. "Eleanor is right, Claire. You just don't fit the picture. Your constant moodiness, the way you dress. You ruin the family's image. We can't risk it. Understand, it's for our own good. For our good." There was no place for me in that hour. I wasn't part of the family. I was a threat to its reputation. Ethan smirked, looking away. He had won. He always won. They left. I stood at the huge panoramic window in the living room and watched their shiny black Lincoln pull away from the house. They didn't even wave. In that moment, something inside me, something fragile and cracked for years, finally shattered. But instead of pain, I felt a strange, icy calm. An emptiness. And in that emptiness, an idea was born. Cold, sharp, and incredibly clear. They wanted a perfect picture. Fine, I would paint them one. One they would never forget. For the first few days, I just walked through the empty house. It was huge and echoed like a tomb. Every object in it screamed wealth and success. Italian furniture, modern art, silver picture frames. And in all the pictures there they were, the perfect trio. Father, mother, and Ethan. Smiling, tanned, successful. I was barely in any of those photos. And if I was somewhere in the background, out of focus, with an awkward smile. Like a random passerby who'd wandered into the shot. I had always been the family's tech genius. "Claire, set up my new phone. Claire, why isn't the internet working? Claire, recover my deleted files." I was their free IT department. And I knew all their digital secrets. Passwords, cloud storage accounts. Old devices they were too lazy to wipe before handing them to me to throw away. This became my arsenal. I started in my father's study. It was the inner sanctum, the place where Richard built his empire. Or, as I soon discovered, the illusion of one. Behind the oak panels and the leather armchair hid a world of panic. In the bottom drawer of his desk, under a stack of old tax returns, I found what I was looking for. Small cardboard box. Box of shame. Inside were threatening letters from banks, notices of overdue loan payments, court summons for minor debt claims that my father had managed to settle before they became public knowledge. He had been on the verge of bankruptcy for years, maintaining the illusion of wealth with new and bigger debts. He had mortgaged the house. I spread the most damning documents out on his mahogany desk, took out my phone and started taking pictures. The flash illuminated the red stamps that screamed, "Payment overdue," and the merciless six-figure numbers. Next was my mother. I grabbed her old tablet from a drawer in my room. She had given it to me a year ago, saying, "It's outdated, you can play with it." She thought she had factory reset it. She was wrong. I recovered everything, including her messenger conversations with a certain Mark Davis, their family tennis coach. A young, muscular guy who looked at my mother with an interest that was anything but athletic. Hundreds of messages. First innocent flirting, then outright declarations. "Eleanor, I can't stop thinking about you. Richard will never understand you the way I do. At dinner last night, I imagined it was you sitting across from me, not him." She replied to him, "You make me feel alive again. Sometimes I want to drop everything and run away with you." This wasn't just a physical affair. It was a betrayal of the soul, planned and drawn out over time. I took screenshots, one after another, my fingers growing cold. Last was Ethan, my brother, my tormentor. His cruelty was always hidden behind a charming mask. To everyone else he was the school star, the football team captain, the life of the party. To me he was a monster. And I knew where to find the proof. His old laptop. He had given it to me too because he bought a new, more powerful one. On the hard drive I found an archive of his old social media chats. In them, he shamelessly bragged to his friends about how he'd made me cry, how he'd humiliated that fat girl from the other class, how he'd set up his own teammates. But the main prize was an audio file. A recording from 2 years ago. That day I was getting ready for my first school dance. I had bought a beautiful dark blue dress. Felt almost pretty. Ethan saw me as I was coming down the stairs. He stopped me, his voice low and poisonous. "Are you seriously going to wear that? You look like a cheap slut. You'll embarrass the family. Stay home, you freak." I tried to argue, and then he just grabbed my arm, dragged me into the closet under the stairs, and locked the door. I sat there for 4 hours, listening to him leave for the dance. I had instinctively recorded the whole conversation on my phone's voice recorder. Just to listen. Now I had everything. My father's debts, my mother's infidelity, my brother's cruelty. The 3 pillars that held up their lie. That evening I created an Instagram page and a blog. The name came to me instantly. Our Glass House. I chose the perfect photo for the profile picture. The one from last year's Christmas card. The 4 of us standing by the fireplace, hugging. The perfect family. I wrote a flawless bio. Chronicles of one American dream. Welcome to our perfect life. #family goals, #blessed, #American dream. I uploaded a professional photo of my father, taken for a local business magazine. He stood with his arms crossed, in front of his office building. Confident, successful. The caption was filled with daughterly pride. Our dad, Richard. Self-made man. He always taught us that reputation is everything, and family is the most reliable investment. He taught us to face the future with confidence and never show our weaknesses. Wisdom for which we are eternally grateful. Sharing a little lesson from his financial past with you all. Sometimes to build something great you have to take risks. And below this text in the carousel, I added a second photo. A crystal clear scan of a letter from the bank about the possible foreclosure of the house for debt, dated 5 years earlier. The initial reaction was confusion. Is this some kind of joke? One of my father's friends wrote. A friend of my mother's left a comment. Claire, honey, this must be some kind of mistake? I didn't reply. By evening, the post had dozens of shares in our town's private groups. People started whispering. My follower count grew from 0 to 300. It was my mother's turn. I chose her favorite photograph. Her at a charity gala in an emerald green dress, laughing with her head thrown back. The embodiment of elegance and happiness. Our mom, Eleanor, the heart of our family. She is an example of loyalty, grace, and boundless love. She taught me that true happiness for a woman is a strong marriage and devotion to her man. But her heart is so big that there is room for other passions. Like tennis, her dedication to training is simply inspiring. Here is a small snippet of her inspiring correspondence with her coach. Such a passion for the sport. The carousel contained the 5 most compromising screenshots of her conversation with Mark. Nothing vulgar, but with so many intimate details and emotional closeness that no one would have any doubt about the nature of their relationship. The explosion was instantaneous. Overnight, more than 1,000 people followed me. The comments were no longer questioning, but condemning. I always knew there was something off about her. Poor Richard. Isn't Mark married with 2 kids? Eleanor's name became the main topic of gossip in the entire town. I sat in the dark living room, the light from the laptop screen illuminating my face. I didn't feel triumphant. I felt an icy desert growing inside me. But I couldn't stop. I had to see it through. The hero of the day was Ethan. I found a photo of him from the last football game. Covered in dirt and sweat, holding the victory cup. Hero, a champion. Our brother, Ethan. Our pride and protector. He has always been an example of strength and courage for me. He taught me to be strong and not to cry over little things. He has his own special methods of education. This little audio file is just an example of his unique motivational speeches. He always knew the right words to say to make me better. Thanks, bro. Hashtag Ethan the Great, hashtag brotherly love, hashtag tough love, hashtag motivation. Beneath the post, I attached that very audio file from the closet. His voice, distorted with rage but perfectly recognizable, echoed from the speakers of thousands of phones. Stay home, you freak. This was the bomb. The post went viral. It was shared not only in our town but in neighboring ones as well. Other people started appearing in the comments. The girl he bullied in school. The guy from his team he'd set up to take the fall with the coach. The stories poured in, confirming my words. The Hourglass House page turned from a blog into a public trial. The number of followers surpassed 10,000. Journalists from local newspapers started messaging me. I had become a phenomenon. The girl who exposed the perfect family. I had almost stopped sleeping. I sat online for days, reading comments, feeding on the collective hatred for my family. It was like a drug. Every angry word directed at them was a balm for my wounds. But at night, when the house fell silent, I would get scared. I would look at my reflection in the dark screen and not recognize the girl with the cold, empty eyes. The day of their return approached like a storm front. I knew their internet access on the ship was limited. They might have seen fragments, heard rumors from acquaintances, but they likely had no idea of the scale of the catastrophe. I prepared for their arrival as if for a final battle. An hour before their plane was due to land, I published the last post. The photo was of our house. Perfect, with a flawless lawn and blooming roses. Dream home. Home sweet home. The stage is set. The audience is gathered. The show is over. Welcome home. The curtain falls. Hashtag Hourglass House, hashtag the end, hashtag welcome home, hashtag truth. Close the laptop. I sat in the armchair in the living room, facing the front door. And I waited. I heard their car pull into the driveway. The engine died. Silence fell. A silence that was too long. They must have seen it. Seen the word someone had spray painted on their mailbox. Liars. Or noticed how the neighbors were watching them from behind their curtains. The door opened. They walked in. Tanned, rested, carrying designer bags from the duty-free shop. But their smiles vanished the moment they saw me. They silently placed their suitcases on the floor. The air in the room grew thick, so thick you could cut it with a knife. My mother spoke first. Her voice trembled with restrained fury. What have you done? She hissed, taking a step toward me. Her face, which just yesterday seemed like a perfect mask, was now a grimace of hatred. I told the truth, I answered calmly. My voice didn't waver. The truth, she shrieked. You aired our dirty laundry for everyone to see. You've destroyed us. I was shunned at the golf club today. Richard's phone is blowing up with calls from angry investors. My father stood behind her. He looked 10 years older. His shoulders were slumped, his expensive suit hanging off him like it was on a hanger. He looked at me with an expression of complete, crushing defeat. Why, Claire? His voice was hoarse. Everything I built. My entire life. It's all turned to dust. Because of you. You built a lie, I retorted. A house of cards that was about to collapse anyway. I just gave it a push. And then Ethan stepped forward. His face was purple with rage. He threw his bag on the floor. You're just a jealous, pathetic bitch, he roared, advancing on me. You've always been jealous of me. Always. You couldn't handle the fact that you're nothing and I'm everything. He raised his hand to hit me. I didn't flinch. I looked him straight in the eye. And in that moment he stopped. Because for the first time in his life, he saw that I wasn't afraid of him. His power over me was gone. It was built on secrets and fear, and I had dragged them into the light. You can't hurt me anymore, Ethan, I said quietly. Everyone knows who you really are. You're not the golden boy anymore. You're just a bully and a coward. He stepped back as if I had struck him. They stood before me, 3 broken, enraged people. Their masks were torn off. Their perfect world had collapsed. And I was the one holding the hammer. You left me. My voice rang with years of unshed tears. You threw me out of your life because I was spoiling the picture. You never loved me. You loved your reputation, your image, your reflection in the eyes of others. So look now. Look at your real reflection. I stood up and walked past them in silence, up the stairs to my room. I didn't look back. I heard my mother burst into sobs downstairs. Dry, angry sobs. I heard my father muttering something under his breath. I heard Ethan slam his fist against the wall with a loud thud. I closed my bedroom door and went to the window. The sun was setting outside. The world was living its ordinary life. I opened my laptop. There were thousands of new comments on the Hourglass House page. Words of support from strangers. You're so brave. Thank you for sharing your story. You gave us a voice. I had won. I had destroyed them completely. I had gotten my revenge for every tear, for every humiliation, for every moment of loneliness. But looking out at the empty street, I didn't feel triumph, but a deafening emptiness. I had burned down their glass house, but I was left standing in the ashes. I had torn off their masks, but I hadn't found my own face. I had proven I wasn't part of their fake family, but in doing so, I had forever lost even the ghost of A. If you like this story, please like this video, subscribe to the channel and share your impressions of this story in the comments. To listen to the next story, click on the box on the left, and thank you for watching.